Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind Podcast, a podcasting community by estate professionals for estate professionals, where we share the ideas and the access to people that help you work less, earn more, and do good in your community. If you get value in this free content, be sure to check out estateprofessionalsmastermind.com, where you can get live classes, access to weekly coaching, and free courses. To learn more, you can visit estateprofessionalsmastermind.com. Let's jump into this week's episode.
Good afternoon or good morning. Welcome. I'm Bill Gross. Welcome to the Probate Mastery weekly real estate coaching call and the estate planning mastermind coaching call. We get together every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, talk about all things probate. Now, this call is for people who are graduates of the Probate Mastery program or have signed up for the coaching on a monthly basis, if you graduate the EARN or some of the other products or programs. And just give you a couple, make sure you're on the right page here. I'm going to share with you the screen. The website's probatemastery.com. If you haven't already, definitely sign up for the free, I don't know about you guys, that's my favorite price, free $99, Lifestyle Career Design by Chad Corbett. Ticket right here, click on it, it's free. And then this is the Probate Mastery Certification Program that we offer to be certified as a probate agent. The EARN program is how to get EARN attorney referrals now. Is an additional program that you can, if you want to focus into that, which is really the basis of my business, is primarily attorney referrals. And then lastly, there is the estate planning. Let me get this up real fast. Estate planning mastermind group in Facebook, which is free. We have 6,500 members. Come here, say hi, and love to carry on the conversations afterwards if I can't get to something. Hopefully, though, this is meant to be participative. So if you have questions, feel free to put in the chat box or raise your hand. And you're welcome to network. Though this, unlike my Thursday call, this is more some of the same people on a regular basis. The goal here is to work with each other, challenge each other, help each other, share best practices as we all grow our business together. I'm not a full-time coach. This is not my gig. I am an agent that needs this mastermind for my own business. I'm in Los Angeles, California. I'm building a national team of probate experts. And I need this for myself to keep myself sharp, learn new things, learn new tricks, and mastermind with you all. So normally I would have content. It's really about answering questions that you guys have or sharing your victories or sharing your challenges. And if you don't have challenges, I'll just tell you what I tell my team virtually every day. If you don't have problems and challenges, you're just not working hard enough, because we get paid to solve other people's problems. So if you don't have problems, you're not going to get paid. That's just how it is. You might for a while, but you're going to run out. And definitely I spend all my days, all day long, pretty much looking for problems and then solving problems. So if anybody has a burning desire, a victory you want to share, raise your hand in the Zoom box, or there's 2 new messages. Why can't I see all the messages? For some reason, that's so weird. Okay, I got them all. Yeah, feel free to put your message in the chat box. I'll be more glad to get to them. I'm going to share a little something with you today. So who here besides me would like their business to be easier? Anybody? We all say that. Now, one of the things I've learned is there's a famous saying, I can't remember who said it, which is, don't wish that life was easier, wish that you were better. And one of the things I want to share with you is the money we get paid is a reflection of the value we create for other people. What we get paid is a reflection of the value we create for other people. So if it's easy, we're not really creating much value. Aloha, Rosa, how you doing? But when we have problems that we can solve, hopefully efficiently, elegantly, well, then we earn the right to charge a fee or have customers happy they chose us and pay us. I'm going to give you an example. There's a famous book by Charles Dickens called The Tale of Two Cities. When I was in high school, as my valedictorian, I actually used a quote from that to open my speech. And when I said, the quote from the book is, it was the best of times is the worst of times, the age of wisdom and the age of foolishness. And we had everything before us, we had nothing before us. The idea of it, there's a dichotomy of life, and it depends on how you look at it. So I'm going to share with you 2 versions of the same story. One is, I got a listing that was really easy. I had a guy call me, leave me a voicemail, And I called him, and the voicemail said, hey, I emailed you last week, but you never responded, but I'd like to sell my property on blank street next to your listing on blank street. And I thought, wow, I get an email. I checked my spam. I checked the email. I never got it. Now, maybe he was mistaken. Maybe he typed in my address. Who knows? I call him up, have a nice conversation. In 10 minutes, he agrees he wants me to list his property. I take about 5 or 10 minutes on the documents package, send that to him for e-signing. And literally within 30 minutes of returning his phone call, I have a signed listing at a competitive price in a hot market area in Los Angeles, ready to go. You go, wow, Bill, that's really easy. Who thinks that was easy? Here's why I got it, because there's another listing on that street that's been a freaking nightmare. It's a probate. The attorney really didn't do it properly, got limited authority, which means we need court confirmation. We want to correct that. This customer lives out of state. He's basically destitute. He does not have a computer, cannot e-sign. So I have to send disclosures to a colleague nearby who meets with him to sign documents. Been very hard. The decedent died in the property and was left unattended for 5 days, which creates incredible problems. I had to have a hazmat company come out after a cleaning crew, after junking out the house. I'm advancing these monies. I have a hazmat company, costs $4,000 to clean that up. So I'm already into this deal for about $5,000. And we still can't sell it yet. I'm waiting for the paralegal's been dragging on and dragging on. I can't complain too much because that's where I'm getting my business from. But between me and you, it's been weeks for her to file this document to get the case changed from limited authority to full authority. Once that's done, we'll move lickety split. So that was been a nightmare listing. So I'm not paid. I'm not close to getting paid on that one, but because I put a sign up on that one, I got the next one. And what's the moral of the story? Well, I didn't know I was going to get a listing because I got this one. I just know I have a job to do. I have a customer needs help, and my job is to help them get the household in the best terms possible. And I've worked hard at it. I've taken listings that were, $10,000 properties, and even if you charged 10% commission, that's $1,000. I have some fixed costs. I have a couple listings last year that I actually lost money on by the time I paid my TC and various fixed costs. But those same listings got me a lot of other business. So what I tell you is not to lose money on listings. I'm not saying chase after wasting your time. What I want to say to you, though, is we're in the business of helping people, or at least I am. I'm inviting you to join me on that. And if you focus on that, I assure you have more business than you know what to do with. Things just fall into line because I deserve it. Sometimes people have asked me, how come this just worked out for you? My TC, how come everybody always agrees to things you propose? I don't know. I worked hard. They feel sorry for me. I don't know what it is. But I think when you help people, you're on the right side of the karma, the energy, God, spirituality, whatever you want to call it. We're on the wrong side. If your goal in life is, well, I'm going to get this deal because I want to double end it. I'm going to buy it as a principal using my own escrow title company, my own inspector company, and then I'm going to sell it for a huge profit. I just see those people having a real tough time in this business. So that's my moral for the day is focus on being of service, and you'll never have a job. You'll just be enjoying what you do. And it may or may not be in the probate real estate space. It is for me. And my first coach was Zig Ziglar. He taught me that you can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. So I'm going to urge you to join me in this process. That's what attracted me when I first met Chad in his training program, the Probate Mastery. Why it stood out from other programs was it wasn't some way to kind of trick desperate sellers into selling me the property easy and cheap so I could resell it for profit. And yes, there's profits you made on cash offers on probates. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a line between serving your customer that way and taking advantage of them. Don't cross that line. I don't even want to be on the line. I want to make sure I have a nice gap between me and that particular line. Okay, that's my soapbox. Disagree with me? Feel free. I'm all for it. Raise your hand, jump in, or share your victory or your loss. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Anybody? Nobody? Okay, well, that's it. I shared my wisdom for the week, and you guys are all good. I guess none of you guys are working. You're all off for, you guys all off for Memorial Day weekend already, or what's going on?
I got something.
Melanie Hands, what is up?
I got something. So I ended up having lunch yesterday with a gentleman who's the regional director of a like a nursing concierge service. And he's absolutely frontline. He knows what's happening in people's homes and whatnot. And this gentleman is part of the Silver Angels group that we discussed last week. And just absolutely amazing hour-long session with this gentleman. He actually hooked me up and told me to call the three people, like names he gave me. They were like the directors or administrators of assisted living companies, like within an hour of my home. He said, you really need to call them right now. He gave me their names and their business, and he did not give me their phone number. So he's like, you got to figure it out yourself. But what a bonus, what an opening. So again, I met this guy through jumping on a Zoom call and getting into senior community Zooms that are online, their areas of, aging and different things like that. So again, you don't know where that's going to lead you, but that's pretty big. That's pretty big.
Well, and it is. And I think the victory is what you have already. Don't confuse it with only if it leads to more business. The victory is you saw the opportunity, you acted on it, you got some positive feedback. And I would say that if you found one of these people, there's more, right? And if you speak to one effectively, then you get better the next time.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so to me, and for those listening, if you were on last week, Melanie described how she, and if you notice her name on her Zoom is RN, I noticed that she's a nurse and feel particularly appreciative to nurses. My wife had major surgery and literally just got to the hospital yesterday after 7 weeks of cancer surgery, major surgery and such. So she talked about how she has a connection with people who are in stages that are moving out of their home into various types of service centers, rehab centers, skilled nursing centers. There's all kinds of them. And the fact she's a nurse will give her credibility with them, much like being an attorney might with attorneys, or much like being an accountant with accountants. I think it's a great niche. Now, I don't think it's a great niche for me. I'm not a nurse. It's not a great niche for me because I don't particularly have the skills besides the name nurse. I don't have the skills that go along with that as a result of being there. I love it for Melanie and for any of you who have those skills and that experience. And I think all of us need to find our particular niche. My niche has been kind of like, because I started the business as a loan officer, my real estate practice has always been more technical. I was a short sale listing agent. I'm more focused on how to solve technical legal problems than most. That's why that's worked for me. It's not that it's the best niche. Melanie's works for her. So let's talk about Melanie. What's our next step? You have this one contact. And remind me again, where do you sell houses?
So I'm in Tampa, St. Pete.
Oh my gosh, how many people are there in this industry? I'm going to ask the question. I know the answer. You have like half a state of adult living facilities, right?
We have like 1,000 people a week moving here. The whole senior community is just absolutely blowing up. And so is the industry. So yeah, it's just going to be endless. So this has kind of led me to doing, and I'll share this with you guys. This is something that you may want to look into in your area. Hospice, dealing with hospices. As you know, I just dealt with that 3 times with family members, and there was nothing available once the body leaves there. They can't help you with anything. So there's a great way for you guys to go in there and create a checklist to show families what you could possibly do to help them and what the steps are that they need to take, with a death certificate and getting a, pre-probate lawyer and things like that. So that is a huge opportunity. And all the nurses and administrators that I talked to at the various facilities that my dad and brother and mom were at, all agreed that this is something that is severely needed, especially here in Florida, because our senior population is just exploding down here. So that's one thing. And then also funeral home directors. And I have a meeting with one next week. Coastal cremation. So there's just so many different niches that you can gravitate toward, like whatever your comfort level is. And me, I don't care. I just want to help people. So for me, I don't really mind who I talk to. And it's something that no one wants to talk about. But I tell you what, you start posting this stuff and you let people know what you're doing and estate planning and things like that. And it blows up. And I'm sending referrals over to lawyers here now, and hopefully it'll be a little reciprocity and we can get some things going with them as well. So it's really about what we can do to help them.
Right.
Yeah, it's just an interesting little side niche there. So.
Well, I don't know that you would think of it as a side niche. Like for me, it's so interesting. People will ask, well, what percentage of your business is probate? So I take the list of closings and I sort them out by those that are in the MLS checkmark probate, yes or no. It's probably about half to 2/3. You go, wow. But all my marketing is probate. But the marketing I do generates the additional friend, family member, COI, SOI, whatever you call those database leads, because they see me active in probate, they see I'm selling houses, and they ask me, well, gee, Bill, my property is not probate. Can you help me? Well, yeah, I can do that too. So I think that we as realtors think, well, I want to have as broad a niche as possible. And that's why I see a lot of agents, I think, mistakenly mark themselves as senior service center. I think that's a mistake because to me, that sounds like I'm just trying to sell. That's how you can give me the business. My approach would be to try to focus on the particular niche that you have the most opportunity with, skilled nursing facilities, and go deeper than just seniors. Not to say that you can't also help adult living communities. Of course, you can go there and talk about avoiding probate, estate planning, probate issues, all the other issues that go with that. But your marketing should focus in an area where when you call on whatever your target is, a nurse or the sales representative at an adult facility or whatever it is, sees what you do. They go, oh yeah, naturally, you're not just like any other agent. You specialize in my world. You speak my language, right? That's the key.
And it's very, very true what you just said. And I'll tell you, I did get a call yesterday also from an assisted living, like memory care center, where I had gone and met with them and like a networking event. And I followed up with her numerous times. And she called me and said, I've got a situation. I've got a client here in Tampa, South Tampa. Her sister lives in Orlando. The house is just shambles. It needs to be, completely redone. She doesn't want to do it. She's 85. So we can find someone there. I've got people in Orlando that can help. I can drive out. We can do whatever. So those connections are definitely going to help you in your business. Those leads are just going to come. And I didn't have to spend any money to do it, right? These are things that gravitate toward you.
Well, there's a couple of things. One, they gravitate towards you. Number two, let me ask you, the leads that come to you, are they easier or harder than the ones that you have to prospect to?
Here in Tampa, it's very, very difficult to get a really solid lead like that. We've got, probably 12, sometimes 15 investors and agents all trying to get at that one home.
Right.
That one. So yeah, it's like a gift if you can convert that.
But which one's easier to work with, when the customer calls you or when you call them?
Customer calls you inbound every time. They need you now, like they need you. So
yeah, it's a tremendous advantage. One of the things you touched on, and again, I'm speaking to you, but I'm kind of speaking to everybody and myself. You mentioned follow-up. So let me ask you this. You met this person, how long ago you said?
I met her in March at a St. Patty's Day senior event.
Okay, so March, let's say mid-March, and it's 2 months. How have they heard from you since then? You said you didn't follow up. What have they done that they might have seen you?
That they might have seen me. So first of all, I just followed up firstly with, hey, it was nice to meet you. And if there's anybody that needs my assistance, we're talking about remainder people or whatever, give me a call. And I attached my digital trifold, right? My brochure.
So you sent an email.
Yeah. And then she knew that I was going to Costa Rica. And she said, Melanie, I want to know about that. So she reached out to me and said, where can I go? What can I do? I answered back. She said something else to me, met me at another event. And then, it was like 2 weeks ago, and then reached out. So it's probably like at least four or five contacts.
Okay. So these were happening. This really wasn't follow-up. This was the natural follow-on of communication. Correct. What if she hadn't reached out, you hadn't reached out? So here's where I'm getting to. I think all of us realtors need to have a system that we contact everybody we ever meet for the rest of our lives. Mm-hmm. So something like that, I have a database and I mark them as, in my case, I call it COI, Center of Influence, Sphere of Influence, past client database, whatever you want, your Mets, if you're Keller Williams agent, whatever it is. If I mark you there, you're going to get, if I have your email address, you're going to get an email from me every week, forever. And the email has a video. And I know the way it works in life is if you get an email from me, somehow Facebook and Google pick up on that and they'll start sending you my YouTube channel, or Facebook will suggest us as friends. All that kind of happens without my doing a lot. But I want to urge all of us, all of you on this call, you all should have a regular weekly contact to everybody you've ever met. And you should drop in there regularly probate content and how to avoid probate content. You want to build up your audience. You want to drive traffic when you meet people. You want to be able to send referrals. That's where you get the oomph behind those phone calls. So for everybody on the call, I think it's great to cold call 3 hours a day. The problem is, my experience coaching agents is the people are doing, and we spoke last week about why I'm against cold calling on probate leads. I'll get off that soapbox, but I will say my experience is all the cold callers are too busy to ever set up a maintenance system, a client information system, and as a result, don't get the full benefit of their work from people who would call you back but lost your phone number or lost your email or something like that. Okay, so that's my recommendation for all of you. So Melanie, the next steps are going to continue with this contact, but how many other people are there like that, and what's your plan of attack?
There are so many. So what we are doing now is we are creating a Facebook networking page for the group that is going to service our community. And so we're having a meeting next week, and probably a couple more after that, to decide who the admins are going to be, who we want to be, involved with it. So this way we can pull in, my favorite estate lawyers, we can pull in the assisted living, people who do like downsizing and everything like that. So it's going to be all inclusive. So that'll keep our hands, and fingers on the pulse there.
Nice.
And then just keeping in contact with them and saying, hey, what do you think about this idea? Would you like to be a part of it? And then we're going to interview everyone and let them know what they do. Yeah.
Love it. Melanie, I love it. You're on the right track. Let's come back and give us an update next week. Stay on top of this. And I appreciate anybody having to ask questions for Melanie before I have some other questions in the chat box I need to get onto. But Melanie, thank you for sharing with us. I really appreciate it, and continued success.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, in the chat box, that was great. You guys, I love this business is just amazing when you just look to help people. I really, that's why I hate the cold calling part, because we get so into ourselves versus helping other people. Okay, so Shelly asked a great question. Shelly, I don't know if you're online and want to turn on your camera and we can have a conversation, or you want me just to talk. I'm fine talking. If you haven't noticed, I can talk forever. But at the same time, I'd much rather be interactive if we can help you. So Shelly asked a question. So Specialize not in probate.
Hi, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you for joining in. So your question is, at least in the chat box, let me add you in here. The question is, Specialize in probate, but niche down from there. Give an example.
I'm just kind of confused what you're saying. Like, for example, because I've done residential probate, so I'm not understanding. So you're talking about like niching down from the probate to maybe to nurses, or I'm missing that. Or like senior care facilities.
Great question. We talked a little bit more about this in depth last week, but I think this would be a constant topic I'm going to talk about. Shelly, where do you sell real estate?
Mountain House, Tracy, California, and San Joaquin, California, right outside of, it's a little bit outside of the Bay Area in Northern California. Okay, so a little more ruralish, semi-ruralish area, right? Not Los Angeles, not San Francisco, not Berkeley, but... Yeah, it's a small, it's becoming bigger. We're the next town over from Livermore, which a lot of people have heard of Livermore. We're not the Central Valley, like we're not Fresno. But we're getting pretty big.
Got it. So what I would say is it's a little different and I'll let you decide where you fit. In small towns, you have more generalists. Attorneys kind of have to do a lot more because there's not as many. Where I live in West LA, literally I could walk, in a mile and see a couple hundred attorneys. So they have to specialize to distinguish, and the competition forces it. In most markets, you really want to go one step past probate. My experience is even in areas like yours, there's some other guy who has marked in the past as a probate expert or gal and flooded all the attorneys with mail or phone calls and kind of turned people off to the term, I'm a probate expert. And most attorneys, when I ask them the question, for example, will say, yeah, everybody's a probate expert in real estate. So to me, to avoid that, there's two reasons why. One, avoid that. You want to look different than the other agents. Like, what do you specialize in? And second, I think that in larger markets, you can kind of glide by the competition or slice the competition by going deeper than just probate. So in Melanie's case, Tampa obviously is a big city, and I'm sure there's plenty of realtors that are probate experts. There's plenty of attorneys that do that. But there's not one realtor in Tampa that I know of who specializes in serving the nursing community for skilled care nursing or adult living. You can make it a number of different ways. She's it. And what would happen then when she approaches anybody in that niche, because that's her specialty, is going to get their attention. They're going to, right. And also she speaks their language. She was a nurse and knows how they talk and how there's a certain language and method and style that's more common amongst that. So definitely, I would say in most people's cases, niching down from not just being a probate expert, but what does that really mean? Are you an investor? I work with attorneys. Are you going to work with nurses? Are you going to work with financial planners, accountants? There's a million different ways to skin it. Shelley, in fairness, in your area, it might be less populous, that's not as valuable if there's no other competition. So let me ask you, are there other realtors that market themselves as probate experts in your market area?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, it is kind of like what I usually hear is I hear other agents say, oh, well, probate's the same. It's just like any other residential transaction, probate. That's mostly what I hear. And then in Tracy, I would say, what you said about the attorneys is true. I think I might have more luck if I called on we do have several assisted living facilities that are kind of smaller, they're non-corporate ones. The attorneys here, we don't really have a lot of probate attorneys in the area, and the ones that I have reached out to in the greater San Joaquin County, they're still kind of like, I've got this type of attitude. Like, you have to know them. I figured out I'd have to go to like their bar meetings and all of that because they're not going to respond to cold calling. So now I'm thinking, okay, maybe if I go through because right now I'm working with a gentleman who's selling, downsizing, and moving into Brookdale, which is an assisted living. So I would have a reason to pop in and visit him and maybe like get to know the staff and stuff there and be like, oh yeah, I helped John sell his house and move here, type of a thing.
So there's a person,
do it that way.
There's a person at that company whose job it is keep the beds filled up. And my guess is they coordinate with the local hospitals or other medical facility, some of them have sales forces. Some of them have just a person who's in-house, like a secretary administrator type person. Some have such great reputations. There's just a head nurse who does it. But for most of them, there's somebody's job is to keep the beds filled. Your job is to find out who that person is. And how can I help you?
Okay.
How can I help you market what you're doing? And you might just also ask some questions. How do you market your center? How do you get word out? What do you do? And I had a friend who was in that world, and he used to go out to medical offices and you drop off food and pens and notepads. It's kind of like title reps doing real estate. So you don't find those people. There's a world of those people. But here's what I'm going to say to you. I wouldn't do that and go for the attorneys. I would pick one of those niches and go all in. Because either one of them, it's not that the niche is so great, it's the depth in that niche that distinguishes you from your competition. Okay?
No, yeah, I definitely, I hadn't really thought. I've only been attorneys, nothing. I wasn't really getting much traction there, but I think this is a much better avenue because we're just in Tracy, they're just opening a new 55 and older community. So that person at Brookdale, for example, they're probably going to be reaching out to that group of people too for when they're ready to get out of senior living into assisted living. And I'm calling on the same group of people. So you could.
There you go. But again, I would urge you pick one or the other.
Better because
pick attorneys or this
Brookside with cookies every once in a while. What I was going to say, I think me showing up with cookies or catering a lunch or popping by Brookdale, Brookside. I gotta get the name of it down, but is more realistic than me calling on attorneys on a regular basis.
I would, as long as yes, but it's not just that it's better. You got to go deep. Is my recommendation on that? Okay.
So by deep, you mean like living in Tracy, or go to the same one? What do you mean by go deep?
If you're gonna connect up with a center, go to the facility, learn about it, get drawings, learn about how many beds they have, what services are they offering, put people involved. Spend the time to really go deep and meet the people. It's not just that you're going to walk in the door with cookies and they're going to shower you with listing leads.
No, right. Yeah. So you mean that one, commit to like that one place. Yeah. And go deep with that one place as opposed to like maybe spanning out over the 3 or 4 places that do that in town.
Well, if there's only 3 or 4, then maybe deep is all 3 or 4, but go deep in all 3 or 4.
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
Good. Shelley, thank you for jumping in. I appreciate that. Question from Kelly Pope. I don't know, Kelly, if you are available to jump in and we can talk a little bit more in detail for you. Let's see, where are we? If we can get your video started. Okay, so Kelly asks, I'm just learning, trying to get my way around the best opportunity to help and work in Massachusetts on the South Shore. My wife, by the way, is from Belmont, near Boston. And Kelly wrote in that she's feeling overwhelmed on the first thing to do to help. Had someone reach out, they have no means to get through probate. How can I help them? Kelly, you there? Can I bring you in? Is your camera on? Are you there, audio? No? So I'd love to help you interactively. It's a little hard to do it just from the question, because your question is, how do I start? And I think that, there's 2 parts to this. One is there's how do I get business? And the other part is, when I get business, what do I do to get it closed? Because in your case, you say they don't have any means to get to probate. I will say that one of the things I do is I've learned, and I think I've become an expert on the Probate Advance tool. I have a website, getprobate.cash, and I have a program I do every Wednesday mornings at 8:30 to talk about that in detail. So there's nobody who is going to inherit property who can't get money to get a great attorney and get their problem solved, if that's what to do to help them. But more than that, and the more you talk to people, the more you'll learn the system. I interviewed an attorney in Massachusetts last month, and I would just say, you want to learn the process. YouTube has a lot of interviews. Learn the process, so when people have problems, you learn how to help solve them. I think more than that also is just make sure you talk about your current clients. If you don't really know the material that deep, you don't have to solve the problem. You have to know the person that can solve the problem. And so find a colleague locally in the Boston area maybe you can work with to get started when you get some tough probate cases to help out. So hopefully that helps a little bit. So shall we talk to please hold the simple truth search bi-weekly elder care home? How can I get started in that? So David says, I teach and preach and hold a simple church service bi-weekly at an elderly care home. The service provided by my church, and he's representation. How do I get started in that, or should I? Is it ethical? So, I think that whether it's ethical is how you approach it. If you're talking about, if you have a relationship with people, some of them have questions quite naturally. You want to think about value you can bring to them that both help them and set you up as the expert. So, David, I might ask people who are interested. If it was me, I'm going to try to bring you in here if you want to unmute yourself and bring your video on. But if it was me, I would have if you're going to teach a church service or you're going to hold a religious service, we don't make that a marketing piece, but what we want to do is have maybe separately do a marketing or an educational seminar on how to avoid probate, how to do estate planning properly. I'm not sure where you do business, David, but in California, I would talk about estate plans, simple estate plans, wills, planning for the day that you're no longer and passing on things to your family, how to avoid some of those legal difficulties. So I would, if it was me and I was doing my wife was recently in a rehab center, and I noticed they have a church service every week, which is nice. We're Jewish, we didn't participate. But my point is, if it was me and I already had a relationship with the management of that center, I'd say, hey, by the way, I'd love to do a class once a week on, financial planning, and I'll bring in, different people to talk about different topics. I'd find a way to present something there and be of value to those people. Okay, hope that helps a little bit. David, I guess you're not available to come in. Okay. And Kelly, we talked about that. Okay, I see a hand up from Larry Smith Group. Let me see if I can get him unmuted. It was dangerous to unmute Larry Smith Group because once you get him started, it is hard to get him to stop. Larry, what's up? Did I say that out loud? I meant that, not to share that.
Bill, I always know if I need to be brought down a notch or two to call you.
What's up, Larry Smith Group?
Okay, so I wanted to throw this out. A scenario that I ran into. I would like to hear you or anyone else that would like to think how they would have solved this. But I got a probate lead from an attorney that I've cultivated a relationship with. And I met the PR. Property is currently being lived in by her younger brother. And so she has a sister that lives out of state. The PR lives out of state. She's down here in Texas. Her brother's living in the house, and he wanted to buy the property. So I thought, well, this would be a simple thing. I'll just help him arrange a buy. I'll get him a mortgage and help him close it out. It turns out he couldn't qualify, so he cannot buy the house, and it doesn't look like he can for some time. So we had listed the property with the thought that he was going to buy it, and then we just converted over to a sale and be done with it. But he couldn't buy it. He couldn't qualify. He was unwilling to leave the property and really unwilling to help assist in getting the property sold because he wanted to buy it. But he wanted his other sisters to wait until he can get approved, which is undetermined amount of time. So I'm curious how you or anyone else might have dealt with a situation like that.
So just to recap, we have several siblings who are the direct heirs.
Mm-hmm.
We have one who's living in the property, doesn't want to pay rent, is my guess, or pay market rent, wants to live there for free forever. He's fine living there forever. Mm-hmm. He went through the process of, I'm going to buy the property, but couldn't qualify, discovered he couldn't qualify while living there for free. Mm-hmm. And now can you live there for free? You have other siblings. Have they opened a probate case yet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's already been opened in probate. And
is he the administrator or the executor?
No, he is not. No, his oldest sister is the PR or the executor.
So in California, two things that would be relevant here. One is very easy to evict somebody who doesn't have a legal contract. They're not a tenant, so they don't have a legal contract. They're just there by rights of the decedent, but those rights have deceased, and they really have. Well, it's difficult to evict tenants in California. That one's easy to evict. Second, any legal fees that the executor or administrator spend evicting an heir, they can deduct from that heir's eventual inheritance. Mm-hmm. So, if they're all going to end up getting $50,000, but they spend $10,000 in legal fees to get them out, that $10,000 comes right out of his pocket. So he's going to pay all the legal fees on both sides. And I think sometimes people don't know the rules, or don't know the law, and they're very aggressive. But once they realize they're not just going to have to pay the market rent from the day they've been asked to leave, plus all the legal fees to get them out, they become much more agreeable to get out. So the challenge is the petitioner or the executor administrator has to have the courage to do that, or have the attorney do it for them, or have you as a realtor do that for them.
Yeah, so let me add a little bit more. She's unwilling to evict him. The executor, is willing to wait to let him take as much time as he needs.
Mhm.
The third sibling, the other sister, is not. She hired an attorney and is threatening to
Yeah.
sue her
Yeah,
to
she's
take
liable.
over as the executor.
She might be liable. Again, I'm in California. I don't know the law at all in Texas, but in California, you make that decision to favor one sibling over another, you run the risk of being sued.
Which is what's kind of happened. So here we are going along. I don't have a sign up. It's not active in the MLS. And I run out of time. So I'll tell you what I did. So what I did is I called the executor up and they said, if I can't put a lockbox and a sign out and activate it on the MLS this Friday, that's 5 days. This Friday, I am withdrawing the listing and I need you to sign the termination. And she said, well, we need more time. I said, I don't have any more time. So I drew up a termination and I had sent it to all three parties and I had it signed and sit back and I took it off. It was in the coming soon category. I took it off there and then removed it. I called the attorney and told him I was not able to work with them because they wouldn't cooperate. I couldn't get a sign or lockbox. I'm done. I'm sorry I couldn't help you. And I felt bad about that, but I felt like I needed to get some grip here, get some more leverage. So I told the attorney, I said, you've got a problem here. They're not cooperating to get it sold and he won't move. So you're going to have to step in, which is exactly what happened. So he had a meeting and told her how much more money it would take to remove her as the executor. And that he basically he said, you need to get Larry Smith back on the phone and beg that he'll take your listing back and y'all need to get it sold. And she got the cooperation of her brother. And now we're back on the market this weekend.
There you go.
But that's how I did it. I don't know if that was the right tactic to do or not, but I just kind of, I need cooperation. And if they're not going to get it, I'm not going to waste my time. And I send a strong signal that I wouldn't. So,
I think what I tell attorneys is I'll work with difficult cases. And I think that's part of my job. You want to work in a way that serves them. And I think sometimes telling people you're going to cancel or canceling like you did, you create some leverage to get them to move forward. And at the end of the day, it's in their best interest. It's just not good to have one sibling stealing from another sibling. If they all agree to it, that's one thing. I mean, that's their prerogative. If they all agree, hey, this brother is just a loser and we'll let him live there for free and we're not going to charge him, they might. I've seen cases where they charge him the rent, fair market out of his inheritance, and other ones where the guy wants everything. There's not a lot you can do, but these tenants can be very aggressive because if they've not paid rent for years, just imagine it's hard for them to find a rental somewhere. It's probably almost impossible. They don't qualify. They don't have the money. They don't have the credit. They don't have the ability to pay market rent because they've been living for free. They can't pay. I don't know what a one bedroom goes for. They're not willing to find a roommate situation just to get started again. And really, they're a step from homeless. And it's kind of like a trapped animal. You'd be very careful with those people for your own safety too. So good job. But it sounds like that's part of the business of probate. And it depends on who your client is. If your client is the estate, it's not good for them to have this conflict and legal fees and all that. If your client is one of those parties, you have to do what's best interest for that one party.
Right. It was really a case of, it was unfortunate. We actually had to back the executor back in a corner and said, I mean, you may not want to do this, but that's not the job you signed up for. So the job was that you're going to take care of the estate and you're not doing it. And if you want to give your brother some money after the fact, you can go ahead and do all you want, but you can't do it with the estate. And it was pretty much that kind of conversation that kind of led to calling me back and saying, okay, we want to put the house up for sale. We're ready to go.
Good.
So then I was like, are you really ready? So anyway, well, we shall see. It's Friday, so maybe I have a different story next week. Hopefully it's on the market and we'll get it done.
Look forward to hearing about that, Larry. Thank you so much for sharing it.
See you, bud.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to remove Larry Smith Group. Okay, I think I got all the questions answered. Anybody else have any questions? Raise your hand, put in the chat box. Again, we're here to work through problems. I'm in this business every day. This is not me as a coach telling you what I did 10 or 20 years ago, and it's not me selling you on paying for a service. This is your colleague here working with you on these deals. And what Larry talked about, I deal with this regularly. That's part of the business. Learning how to keep my emotions out of it is a challenge, but I think I've become pretty good at, and some of the value that I bring. And I tell attorneys regularly, my job is to help you navigate those difficult relationships and to do it, hopefully efficiently and profitably. Okay, hand up, Roger Baldwin. Let's see if I can get you to unmute. If you want to put your video on, love to have you in there. Roger Baldwin, how can we help you?
Hey, Bill. Just want to say thank you for all your time on this channel. But I recall when you were talking about putting $4,000 in for clearing out the house for the person who was deceased for several days. I wanted to ask you, do you have a some type of agreement or something that you have with your PRs or what have you to cover your expenses for reimbursement and your time, that sort of thing?
So first off, Roger, where do you sell real estate?
I'm just an investor.
Where?
Florida.
Got it. So I'm a realtor in California. In our standard California listing agreement, it does provide that we get approved expenses reimbursed at the close of escrow. Right. So it's in our agreement as long as they approve in writing via email. And I would say different people, I handle it differently. This is a case where the attorney is a great attorney who's referred me multiple cases. Right. And I've done this with him on other deals, and he appreciates it. And he covers me on these deals. And even when there's a hiccup, he's covered me. I wouldn't necessarily go $4,000 deep with anybody. But I don't care how good the agreement is. You've got to really trust the people and know they're trustworthy. Right. So to answer your question, but it is in writing the California listing agreement, and as long as they send me back confirmation, they approve the expense, then I have the legal authority to get paid, as long as I know the property is going to sell. The problem is what the house doesn't sell, and that's something I have to pay attention to very carefully.
Well, I've been putting out for electric bills and homeowners insurance to maintain it while it's going through probate, because my client's in Wisconsin. And we've already discussed it, and she's confident, or I'm confident, that she's going to reimburse the funds for those expenses I've put out and everything. But I guess the question would come in is my time, that I've spent on the house, checking on it once a week, different things like that. And if I can negotiate the property and successfully buy it, then I can waive those expenses. But obviously, if I'm not successful in that, I want to get reimbursed for my time as well.
Well, I think, again, I think you can make an invoice where they agree to those fees, and you could put on there, to be waived upon successful purchase of the property, and that way you can put that in writing and make that clear if that's what you want to do. And I've done that. I've lowered fees, waived fees, just to make a customer happy, whatever you have to do. But generally, I get paid everything I advance out. I haven't been burned. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever really been burned any of that. So to me, I'm fine doing that. My time, I don't charge for going to the property and those kinds of things. I feel I'm a real estate agent. I don't go a lot to the properties, so maybe that's part of it. I usually get a partner. The way I work is I'm with a huge company, and I usually get a junior agent who will be responsible to go to the property and check on it and that kind of stuff. But definitely I would say, and the other thing I would point out to you is, the probate advance is ideal for this. And so there's occasions where I get them in advance, I get reimbursed right away.
Right.
But the other advantage of the probate advance is they're looking at the case as well. And I had a case recently where they discovered that the petitioner wasn't really a family member. She was like a daughter to the decedent, but she wasn't, in fact, legally a daughter.
Right.
And as a result, the probate advance company, their money's at risk. And had I advanced her money, I would have been at risk as well. So I do use them as kind of the canary in the coal mine as well. Number one, and number two, I think that's the better alternative. I think the customer getting their money on their own is better than me advancing it. In this case, he got an advance, and then we discovered the need for this additional work. So I made the decision to go ahead and advance the money.
Right.
Not saying it was right, but that's just how I did it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Roger, thanks so much. Always a pleasure. I saw a hand up, Melanie. Let's bring you back. Get you unmuted.
So just a quick question. I know that, you talked a little bit earlier about CRM databases and whatnot. And everyone has a lot of different needs with those, right? So I know that I believe you're working off KV Core with EXP, or are you using something that is really specific to probate? Because I was with EXP and I tried to use KV Core, and it was really hard to create a drip campaign for probate because it's so unique and so individualized. So if you could maybe even talk about this on another call. I know we're kind of getting close to the end, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'd be glad to go into detail sometime. I would say, first off, I don't do drip campaigns. I don't think anybody wants to be dripped on. I don't want to be dripped on. I know I don't like them. I think they're cool when I look at them in my email box, but I don't like them as a customer, right? So what I focus on is I send everybody something of value once a week that I think is related in a value once a week about the real estate market. And I also post other content on my social media that I think people who are interested may find of value on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I rely on that to stay in touch. So I do use KV Core, but there's a feature where you can connect it to MailChimp, which is an email program, which I had MailChimp before I joined EXP. I have a larger database. For anybody listening, you can get a free MailChimp account to 2,000 contacts, I think it is. If you text me, I'll send you a link to it. Not a trial, but they kind of help you build up your business from scratch. So I use, to be in fairness, use KV Core, but it links to my MailChimp. And that way I can get the open statistics and the click statistics and things like that. That's more sophisticated than just KV Core. But I do use KV Core as well to capture names, addresses, phone numbers, emails, social media, things like that.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Okay, I think that's it. I don't see any hands up. I don't, Don says hand up. Don, let me, hand up. I'm not sure what that means. We have two hands up. Okay, so let me call on.
I don't know how to put a hand up on there.
Oh, there you go, Roger. Okay.
Hey, Bill.
Hey.
She was asking about the CRM. I think I saw something recently where Chad had put together something for us. I haven't had an opportunity to look into it or download it yet, but I think Chad put something together for the one that he had, something that's supposed to help us out. So I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know if you're aware of that or not.
No, I'm not. And I would say I don't really pay attention to that. I think that I was, just for everybody, I think that CRMs is a topic that I feel like I'm an expert in. Before there were CRMs, there were applications you ran on your desktop. And I started with ACT, which became Contact Software International. I was a beta tester on Microsoft Outlook, which was initially more of a CRM. It morphed into an email program. And I've used Salesforce and I use KV Core. And I'm familiar with a lot of them. And I think there's so much emphasis on the right CRM as opposed to using that tool correctly. So now I know nothing about carpentry or handyman work, to be honest. But the analogy makes sense to me, which is it's not the tool, it's how you use the tool. And I think the mistake is made a lot of these very fancy funnels and fancy drip campaigns Like I said, to me personally, I just email everybody the same thing once a week, and I post a lot of content in social media, way more than would ever be appropriate to drip on people. I occasionally get ideas. I send it out to everybody to try to stimulate their interest in something. So I think that whatever you have, first work with what you have before you change. And if you have nothing more than Google Contacts or a spreadsheet, that probably is fine. You need an email component to go with it. MailChimp is free up to 2,000 contacts. So I wouldn't spend a lot of time on the CRM. I would listen to another company talk about the CRM they're developing that's 30 days out. One thing I've learned is when people say it's 30 days out in software, it's usually 90 days or 6 months out. So it's one of those things where, is it really better? I'm sure they're going to make money on it. I'm sure they're going to charge money for it. Is it going to help me get more listings? I don't think so. So that's really my focus. And I'm not sure what Chad's working on. I don't know. I don't want to put it down. But I would say for 90% of people listening, it's not the CRM that's the problem. It's you're not using one you have. Let's get you in action on one you have already.
All right. Thanks, Phil.
Sure. I'm on my soapbox a lot today, guys. Sorry. I spitting fire. Okay. Don Stark, hand up. Let me bring you in. And what's going on, Don?
Hey, thanks, Bill. So I got a call this morning from a daughter of the personal representative, and mom died in 2019, and the will stated that all the proceeds were divided into 3 parts. So mom was giving money to the one sister. The brother doesn't care, wants mom, who's 75 years old, to continue to live in the residence. The one sister wants her third of the money. And it's just going to be kind of an interesting deal because they just opened probate. They just started the probate process. So the opportunity to work with the lawyer that I've been trying to work with is very good, but a lot of stuff hanging out there. So.
Okay. Is there a question? I mean, I'm excited to hear for you that you're doing well and getting started with it. Is there a particular question I can help with, or we're just sharing our success on that?
Just how to navigate through this, because the mom is 75 years old, lives in the house, and doesn't want to move, but she doesn't have the ability to refinance it to take care of the sister. And she'll be coming in today, so just kind of like,
So the mom is one of 2 heirs in the property, or how many heirs are there?
There are 3.
There's 3 siblings?
3 siblings, yes.
Yeah. So, and they filed probate, and who's the petitioner? The mom's a petitioner, or the other sibling's a petitioner?
The mom who's living on the property is the petitioner, yes.
So again, I think you're in the state of Washington, and I don't know the law there specifically, but in general, the administrator or the executor is obligated they have a fiduciary responsibility to the estate. As long as the other parties agree, then they're all in agreement. And so they could take title to all 3 of them. In California, any of the 3 could force a sale. So she would need their agreement. And if she can work on an agreement where she lives there for free, but somehow rent's computed out of her, eventual heirship, maybe that's the solution. Number 1. Number 2, there are lenders in California I know who will lend in these circumstances where if she, it's a 66.7% loan to value loan, would she qualify for a reverse mortgage?
That's a good thought. I'll find out more when we talk.
So I have a lender who would lend money to the estate to buy out the 2 and give them cash, and then pre-qualify for a reverse mortgage to refinance and pay them off. Is another option I've seen done.
That's an excellent option.
There's 2. If those don't work, call me back. We'll come with some more. Okay, Don?
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Okay, I think that's all the hands, all the questions. Recommends go high level as well. I'm not sure. Thanks, McKenna. Okay. I think we're all, yeah. Okay, we're done. So just real quick, I'll wrap up. I'm Bill Gross. You can see me on social media at Bill Gross EXP. You can call and text me 310-210-0008. Love to see if I can help with any questions, problems. Love your referrals. Building a team nationally. Love to talk to you. That's something you're open to talking about. This is the weekly call we do for ProbateMastery.com, where we get together every week and talk about, and this is oriented towards realtors and brokers on our real estate practice. You're welcome to stay in if you're an investor, but that's the focus. ProbateMastery.com, you have the certification program, you have the earn program, and then there's the free program, Lifestyle and Career Design that Chad's doing as well. You can go into ProbateMastery.com and get the link to that as well. And then we have a Facebook group, Estate Professionals Mastermind. Separately, I host my own program every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific, called ProbateWeekly.com. Love to have you register there and join us. I usually interview attorneys, professionals in the field. That's more of an interview show where this is more coaching and answering questions. So I really appreciate you guys' help today. Thanks for sharing, Melanie and Don and Larry Smith Group. And I know a couple of people asked questions along the way. Thank you for participating. We'll see you next week and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.